It's a chronos conundrum as we see the world through Robin's eyes, traveling back and forth through time, as the team of the future tries to find out how to save the world, while the team of the past knows there's nothing to be done to change it. Plus, Matt gets his shotgun axe on this week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5, Episode 8. The Last Day. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So yes, there are spoilers ahead and confusing time travel discussion, so I want you to be completely aware and prepared before we dive into things this week. Wow, what an episode. Really, kind of mind-blowing. It was very cool actually sort of seeing the nice back and forth and sort of playing with this time-traveling idea. And that's really sort of the main focus of what we had in this episode. I mean, yes, we did have some cool action with splinter bombs and shotgun axe, which was awesome. But let's start off sort of dealing with the whole time-traveling idea here, because there's a lot of concepts, a lot of weird stuff that was sort of thrown out, and it's sort of easy to get lost. So many of you guys are probably just easy to stay up with it. This is just for anybody that was a little confused, and hopefully I won't confuse you more. All right, so the main kind of thoughts that we have going on through this episode, sort of competing philosophies we have, is can you change time or can you not? Can you change the past or is everything fixed? That's sort of the two viewpoints we could say between Fitz, especially Fitz of the past, who gets very frustrated about all this work, very insistent that time is immutable, and someone like Voss, who is thinking maybe if I just take out Daisy now before she can go back in time, then this will just fix everything. And, you know, in a way, kind of both of them are correct, I think, when you look at it in the big picture. I mean, look, obviously we know as audience members that something is going to change and fix, because if the world just ends and all the agents die, that's the end of the show, and we don't want that. It also would be a very short season, and we could predict everything, and nobody wants any of that. So we know, you know in our hearts that things are going to change. That's what we're rooting for our team for. But we do have, again, the evidence kind of what we see of Robin's life. And I love the back and forth that we're doing of seeing scenes and reactions from her youth to when she's older, and reacting to scenes that are happening when she's older as she is young, and thinking about the past as she's older, and that sort of mind idea that she's constantly shifting back and forth through time. It's going to be such a frustrating way to see the world. She's done well, though, living to nice ripe old age. I guess we get to find out first in the lighthouse with Deke and everyone, and then Cassius kicked her and her dad and Deke's dad off up into to the surface here, and then Voss and everybody else seem to have joined up from there after that. So you know, a little bit of a fun life there for Robin. But we see again everything sort of what had happened. Now we get a few clues about kind of the show in some sense. The only team members we see in the past really are May, Gemma, and Fitz. We do see that YoYo had gone back because she apparently goes after the Kree with the axe. That's what it seems to imply when she says, we know in the future they enslave us, and May is saying, but we need them for right now, we need their power. So it's, at some point there was some negotiations that were happening between the Kree and the humans. So we at least know that YoYo came back. But May, Fitz, and Gemma seem to be the only three. Mac dies at some point, but we don't know if that's in the future, when he's fighting up with the Vrex right now, for instance, or if it's coming back in the past. We don't know about Phil. We know that Daisy went back, of course, but then she disappeared, then the 12.8 Richter earthquake, and the planet cracked like an egg. And even Fitz seems to think that Daisy is responsible for that when we see his sort of past bit when they're on the plane. So we get sort of an idea. We don't know what happens with Phil. kind of the main thing, and he seems to be the one that at least Robin is thinking can pull everything together, can make sense of all of the pieces. So we get a little bit of an idea of sort of how the story may or may not go, and at least give us some interesting questions. But we're dealing with the idea, like I said, of can the past be changed or can it not? And I think what the idea is we're looking back, especially as we get the sort of evidence from Robin's life, is that this seems to be what has happened, is that we're dealing with basically a time loop, a repeating time loop. And I'm not sure if maybe this was simply a result of Robin's inhuman status, if this is something that perhaps was created when she became an inhuman. Is this something that only she could see? You know, which deals with a whole lot of kind of quantum theory effects. You know, is it observed and doesn't make it a reality sense? Or is this something that was perhaps caused by the use of the monolith when she originally sent the team forward? Because what we can look at is if we look at Robin's life, Robin basically sees her life here. I drew something out, and I don't know if this is going to be more confusing or not. Okay, so let's say that this main line right here, this is Robin's life right here. And this is what she sees. And she sees at some point she goes forward is that the Earth cracks up, everything falls out, the only people that can save it are the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. who traveled back in time and met with her and helped her survive the whole idea, Gemma and Fitz and everybody else that live in there on the Zephyr. Now, in order to allow them to come back in time, she knows she has to send them into the future at some point. Okay? So upon her lifeline, this is everything that she is seeing. So what we basically have here, as this constantly repeats over and over again, is this time loop. And this is what Fitz is talking about. From his point of view, no, nothing can change. Because these are the events that are all laid out. But once you travel back and forth in time, I think you have this basically like this gray area, let's say right here, from when they come back in time to when the Earth explodes, that they have to make a change. If they don't make a change, they roll the probability dice, comes up, nothing changes, then it goes forward, and they constantly repeat this. However, you can do this one time and change it, or do it 1,000 times and change it. It doesn't matter. From this point, everyone's perspective, it always stays the same. However, if you do roll the probability dice and make that change, then you can alter that reality into a new one, which is where the Earth is saved and everything's yay, and there's a season 6, and we're all happy. But Robin can't see that possibility. All she sees is this looping time section back and forth. So this is all that she's able to. Voss can't change it because that would be all the way up here after the Earth is done and people don't go back, and you've got to have the image that that Robin initially saw. I think at the end though, when she's having that last moment with May, is she may finally see them coming back and changing the time. That she could finally then at that point glimpse into it. Because remember, when she was younger, she tells May, you know, she's trying to tell May, you have to May's telling her as a kid, you have to tell us how to get back in time so that we can save the Earth. And young Robin is saying, I can't see that though. Where older May is saying, but you will. Because once she gets to this point and she sees May, who ends up traveling back in time, she sees the glimpse of that probability, the chance that it could happen. And that's all what time travel generally is. Elements of probability. Things may happen, things may not happen. But Fitz is just caught in the loop, which can't change. So I think that's kind of basically the idea of what we're looking at here. Is however Robin's existence is, whether it is caused simply because she can see it, and like I said, from a probability quantum standpoint, if you can observe a reality, you make that reality. She can just do it on a very wide scale. or if it's something caused by use of the monolith, that because she sees this image, she uses the monolith, and the monolith itself creates that time loop that then takes for a moment, at one point, make the right choice, and you can finally break out of it. So I think that's sort of, from a time standpoint, what we're seeing at. And that sort of allows everybody to be right at the same time. It's just, again, a measure of probability of rolling those dice and seeing if you come up with a bad roll or something that'll break you out. Now, of course, with all this time travel and looping, you get a lot of contrary effects. For instance, Fitz and Simmons discovering the isochronocyclotron. Thank you. Isochronocyclotron that allows use of the fragment of the monolith to then sync up with the monolith of the past and allow it to travel and send the people up to now. That seems to be what happens. You use the bit of a monolith, you vibrate it at a certain frequency, the monolith of the past recognizes the frequency and sends people up to that time. It seems to be what happens. Of course, this is an isochronocyclotron that they are seeing now, that they will find out that they actually invent in order to use the monolith in order to allow them to come forward so that they can... I know, this is where time travel gets all messy. But again, when I was talking about that loop, these things happen and then they're able to loop over and over again, so it allows it to sort of reinforce. It may not have happened exactly that way the first time, but as it repeats, then it falls into that pattern, which is why it goes over and over again. But I just always think that's cool, is you have Fitzsimmons discovering a device that they end up having to design, but not build, because Deke's dad built that from the schematics that were left over. So that's interesting. Also, this may answer the question about, we were wondering about Hunter and Bobby. We were thinking that maybe Hunter and Bobby end up watching over Robin. That didn't seem to be the case. We didn't see them anywhere. Now, whether or not Hunter and Bobby may have helped protect Robin until the agents showed up or before they got on the Zephyr, that is a distinct possibility. We don't know that yet. But certainly it wasn't Bobby or Hunter that were raising them, and they're not going to be found on the planet on Earth anymore. They're gone. But we'll see them again, I'm sure. I don't want to go any further without diving into our nice little Philinda reunion, which was awesome. It was great to have the two of them back. And I love the kind of little discussion that May had brought up, concern about her usefulness of, to the team. She's a specialist that doesn't have a functioning leg. She can't protect the team. Why is she around? Of course, you kind of have that moment. But, Phil's the man. I love how he's there. It doesn't matter. You are the person that I trust to watch my back. So the two of them are not separating. Anyway, I love their little bit of a reunion there. Now, one reunion we didn't see and that someone was looking forward to was, of course, Deke and his dad. Which was really kind of disappointing to find out afterwards. The whole thing that worked out with Voss. So we have Samuel Voss there, friend of the family, but apparently at some point while living with Robin has decided, maybe the only way to stop this is to take out the Destroyer of Worlds when she shows up here, which I know she's going to because I got Robin who's telling me everything that's going to happen. Obviously, Robin wasn't able to warn Deke's dad, or Deke's dad wasn't able to listen. Well, I mean, with Robin, it's the back and forth. It's kind of hard to fixate and know what's going on there. Kind of surprising that didn't pop up in time. But, time travel visions, they're tough to predict, and you can't really control them. But was really kind of bummed out about Deke. He did respond so oddly when they had brought up the fragment, and I was really wondering what was going on. But to find out that was something his father had held on to, and he wouldn't even give it up to Deke when he separated out, and they had left on bad terms, and you're hoping that you're going to get back together and be able to make up for it. But apparently, no. Voss killed Deke's dad at some point when he had laid out the plan of what he was going to do with Quake and sort of set that all up with everyone else. And could pretty much, I guess, count on the fact that Robin wouldn't really have the time to warn anyone, considering how much she's always traveling back and forth and, not seeing things as they are right now. So kind of bummed out about that, really feeling for Deke, and I love that, I like that created at least a little bond moment between Daisy and Deke, because their animosity that needs to shut down. They've got more important things to focus on. So I feel bad for Deke. I am glad that at least that allowed a little connection between Daisy and him, so that maybe we can start getting everybody left moving forward, you know, together. All right, back in the lighthouse, of course, we have our Mac and YoYo getting the gear together and going out against the Vrex. That was our action for the scene, and it was enjoyable. Shotgun axe puts a smile on Mac's face and everyone else. I love sort of Flint's evolution. That doesn't seem to get in the way of it. Encounter Vrex. Ah, I see how they go together. It's perfect. Anyway, it was kind of nice. Good to know that there is a mist that you can use against the Vrex to sort of control them. Of course, we have a devastated human population at this point. That's those Vrex. Oh, man, Cassius or Cassius. I keep doing that. I'm sorry. Cassius, man, just really going after not a renewal, retribution, as he told Sonara. So yeah, I think that's definitely putting it out there. So going after against the humans, very harsh. Love that we've got Mac with his equipment. And that scene with YoYo, almost scene of the week, not. You'll get it when I get to it. You'll understand when I get to it. But that sequence when she goes out against the Vrex with the splinter bombs. And it's such a great callback, too. We haven't seen those for a while. So that was fun from all the way back in Season 2. It was just super cool. It took a moment. I was having to rewind to see what it is that they had happened. But that was just a great sequence, how they just use the gas, flush everyone into, flush the Vrex all up to YoYo, and then she can just in one shot go and boom, take them all out. Anyway, beautifully shot, done, great use of effects, just wonderful storytelling. So I love that whole bit. And wrapping things up with coming out and taking the metrics off the rest of the humans. Really starting to build a revolution against Cassius. So all of that, super exciting. Just, yeah, love seeing that together. Love seeing Mac with Shotgun Axe. And YoYo's scene was just, oh, incredible. Now, of course, the episode title, The Last Day, seemed to imply from all of the sneak previews that, oh my god, is this the day where humanity's wiped out? Is this talk about the day that the Earth died? No. The last day ends up being, of course, Robin's last day, the day that she dies. Dies at the hand of Samuel Voss, who, if he's not going to take out Quake, can at least try and take out Robin before she can tell them what they need to know. Of course, he obviously hasn't really paid too much to her visions, knowing that she has already done that and will do that. And anyway, when you're making those types of choices like Voss was, you're not always thinking clear. But what that does is, of course, lead us to our Scene of the Week! Which is those scenes with May and Robin, both old and young. And even thinking about it now, I'm starting to tear up a little bit. There was so much sweetness there, and it so much played with the back and forth of, like I said, of the time travel and the idea of being able to see the future and having faith in what the future is going to bring. Where we have the confusion of a child and a mom. See, it is. I'm totally cheered up right here. And especially coming from May, who is so hard. You know, so much of the warrior. And seeing this soft, motherly, caring side. I mean, we saw it kind of throughout all of those sequences when we're peering back into the days after the Earth goes down. Is that even as Gemma and Fitz and YoYo and everyone is starting to sort of get frustrated with being around Robin. For May, it's, well, like Robin had said, it never bothered you. All of my powers never bothered you. And seeing how May can sort of see the Earth, it sort of makes sense. She accepts people for who they are. And I think that she can easily sort of wrap herself around the conundrums, the the conflicting ideals that come with dealing with a kid that can see both the vision, future, and the past, and trying to advise them on things that are going to do with stuff that they haven't yet experienced. But it was so touching. It was there how it was flashing back and forth with the future and the past, and that dying and trying to remember of what to say. It was really just such a beautifully created scene, beautifully set scene. And seeing that motherly side of May, and being there and trying to advise a child on what they're seeing, on their future death, and it was just, there was so much going on with that, and it really, I mean, Ming-Na just did an amazing job pulling all of those emotions out of it, and so that's why I'm doing it. You know, it was such a beautiful, simple scene. Yes, the yo-yo scene was awesome and action-packed and super cool and great effects, and I loved seeing it. But this touched my heart. This got me teared up. This really saw a wonderful second side of May and where she could be going in the future. You know, for Philinda shippers and everyone, you know, you've seen that possibility of that softness going forward. So I think it was just beautifully done. Now, as it ends, of course, she does tell finally May what she needs to know, but May's reaction was not excited. She seemed actually kind of disturbed hearing that last little bit from Robin, which, of course, you know, I'll have to wait till next week or the following until we find out, you know, exactly what it was, depending on how long they want to pull that out. But we do know that the key to it is going to be Flint. So that's kind of awesome, especially for people that are thinking, does Flint go back in time with them? Is he really the cause? What is the cause of the end of the world? Again, see that? We don't know. They're hinting at Daisy, but why would she do it? And she says it herself. She's not powerful enough to do that. Well, as far as she knows, at least. All right, just a couple of things here. One, let's be able to at least appreciate that Fitz and Simmons finally had a moment alone together. And that was kind of awesomely done, where they almost surprised looking around. And here we are, by ourselves, all alone. Hey, wait, we're all alone. Let's have a moment. So, finally, very nice. And nothing blowing up when they tried to kiss. So, that's good. Yeah, when I was talking about that time traveling in the loop, remember, Robin's last line, finally to May, I've seen it. I just haven't lived it yet. And I think, like I said, that's where she's seeing. And maybe this is the first time on that possible infinite number of loops that she was finally able to see that this time, when they go back in time and roll the dice, that it's going to come up so the Earth goes out, so that they can finally go. So now Robin can finally start to see this. And that's where she ended up living. So anyway, it was just all very cool stuff. May with a sword. That was pretty awesome. You had shotgun axe with Mac, and you got May with a sword. Okay, maybe it was a machete, but still, looked pretty badass. Alright, so I think that covers everything, or at least all of the big points that we wanted to cover. So, the agents now seem to at least be aware of how to get back in time. They're going to need Flint, but of course, in order to get the Flint, they're going to have to go through Cassius's revenge bit against the rest of humanity. So, yeah, we've got some big showdowns going on next week. We've got Sonara hunting on the surface for the agents. I'm sure that Quakes would be happy for another bit of revenge fighting going on there. But are we going to get Quake actually reactivated? They do seem to have to go back, at least kind of cut out that inhibitor there, so that she could potentially go back in time and destroy the Earth. So, still, lots of things that happen, but I'm not sure how much longer we're going to be here for. This pod, if they're doing it, it's probably going to wrap up within the next few episodes. So, really can't wait to see coming up. We have the big 100th episode. I know we're all looking forward to it. There's supposed to be some big monumental things happening. I think it's a Fitzsimmons wedding. But we'll have to sort of wait and see with that, and then find out really what is the deal with the Earth? what was a 12.8 earthquake? What was Quake going to go and do? Still a lot of questions out there. We should be getting those answers really soon. So hopefully you will be here and we can talk about it. So for now, thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this review, please go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, comments, throw those down in the section below. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Subscribe, please, if you're not. You'll catch all of these reviews. We got a whole rest of the season, plus Walking Dead, Legion, Westworld, Preacher, lots of stuff. Don't miss those. You won't if you're a subscriber. Hit this button right here. And I'll go ahead and throw up our latest few reviews right here, and you can check those out. So, that's going to be it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.